Let's get into it, Coach Colin News. There is a lot going on with Brazil. By the time you are finished watching this video, you will understand everything that's going on. We're going to start at the very top with Tucker Carlson. He's talking to the former president of Brazil's son. And this former president is known to be very similar to Trump in terms of what he wanted to do with Brazil, the policies he wanted to pass. Just he's known as their Trump. And then he was put in jail unfairly. And then we're going to move on to a protest video so you can understand the weight of what's really going on in Brazil. Then we're going to move on to Elon Musk talking about the issues that he had with Brazil. Because if you don't know, Elon Musk is very deep in the mix of this whole thing. And it's getting very close to him getting prosecuted somehow by Brazil. And we'll go over it soon. Basically, Brazil has their own version of Klaus Schwab, and he is just doing whatever he wants, it seems. And there's reasons for that. Then we'll move on to actually showing you who this gentleman is. Then I'm going to show you some articles just going deeper into what's actually happening in regards to Elon Musk in Brazil and why Elon Musk is butting heads so hard with the Brazilian government to the point that they feel like they have to actually charge him with some kind of crime or at least look into him. Then we got Michael Shellenberger, very esteemed journalist who was on the Twitter files when Elon Musk needed a bunch of journalists to do some really good work. And we'll just go from there. There is a whole lot to this. It's kind of dense, but it's really important. What's going on in Brazil is terrible. And it's kind of proof that it can happen anywhere. It can happen anywhere. And right now, the people of Brazil, they are hours away, days away, hopefully days away would be even better from having a total police state. And it's getting dangerous for people who are in politics, who are speaking against the current people in power. It's getting troublesome for journalists. These people are getting put in jail. It's absolutely a shame. We're going to start with the Tucker Carlson video first. Let's go.
A little less than 2 years ago, we went to Brazil to cover the presidential election then in progress. The incumbent, President Jair Bolsonaro, was running against a former president, a convicted felon, who's very close to the government of China, called Lula. And as you wandered around the country, went to its biggest cities, you really got the feeling if this election goes to Lula, this place is going to, in very short order, become a police state. People are going to go to jail. Democracy is going to end. The media will no longer be able to report honestly and openly, and the Chinese government will have undue influence over Brazil. And that's a big deal, not just for Brazilians, but for the United States, because Brazil is the most significant country in the Americas after this one. It's huge. It's got enormous natural resources. It's got a well-educated population. There's a lot in Brazil. And so if it descends into darkness, that's a problem not just for Brazil, but for every country in this hemisphere. So the question is, 2.5 years later, a year and a half later, rather, what happened in Brazil? Lula won in an election that was very obviously rigged. And what happened to the country? So we thought we would get an update now with Eduardo Bolsonaro. He's the son of the former president. He's a very well-known legislator in Brazil, and he joins us on set now. Eduardo, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Tucker.
So looking down from here, from a vantage of thousands of miles, but at Brazil, it looks like it's no longer a free country.
Sure, not anymore. We have people get censored, not only in social media. You have people exiled living here in the United States. For example, I'll tell you the names to have no doubt about what I'm talking about. Rodrigo Constantino, Paulo Figueiredo, Alan dos Santos are 3 journalists that are living here in the United States. And as this...
Wait, but they're Brazilian journalists who cover Brazilian politics, but they're living here. Why are they here?
Because they cannot work anymore in Brazil, and also because you always have the risk of be arrested by the Supreme Court. And to be honest, not the whole Supreme Court, but one justice called Alexandre de Moraes. He had opened an investigation for more than 5 years, persecuting usually conservatives. So these gentlemen, Alan dos Santos, Rodrigo Figueiredo, Paulo Figueiredo, Rodrigo Constantino, they are living here because they are shut down in Brazil. Alexandre de Moraes, this justice, he cannot even let this person has a Twitter or Facebook account in Brazil. If you are in Brazil and you want to see what they are posting, you need to turn on your VPN or be outside of Brazil.
Wait a second.
They're
How
journalists.
okay, so the Biden administration is a great protector of democracy and human rights around the world. They tell us that every day. And yet their close ally, the Lula government, is shutting down press freedom and forcing journalists into exile. Have they said anything about this? Has the State Department complained about any of this?
I never listened to something about that, but what we are doing, we are receiving some support from our other congressmen from the Republican Party. For example, Marjorie Greene, Chris Smith, among others. We had some conversations last year, and we are expecting to this year come back to the Congress in a bigger delegation of Brazilian congressmen to have a hearing in a commission inside of the Congress to at least tell all around the world what is going on in Brazil. Because in Brazil, it's not worth anymore. You appeal. You don't have for who appeal. It's the Supreme Court suing people. They say that they are the victims. They accuse and they judge everybody. This is not a democracy anymore. I cannot say that, unfortunately. And you don't have where to appeal or who ask for help.
So just to get specific about what's happened and when. So it was the very last day. I think your father's term ended on New Year's Eve 2022. I think that's right. December 31st. January 8th, you had your own January 6th.
Yes. This is that excuse that they use to go after every conservative that
So almost a year to the day later, the United States government was involved in it as well, the Biden administration. You had a supposed attempted coup on the democratically elected government of Brazil, the Lula government, and conveniently a bunch of Lula's political opponents wound up in jail. Is that a fair summary?
Yes.
Is that what happened?
Yes. And the funny thing, Tucker, is that they say that it was attempt of a coup, but in January, in a Sunday, no weapons were arrested. There was no support from police or armed forces. So, in fact, it was a protest that went far away. I do not agree to people breaking the doors of the Congress or the Supreme Court, whatever. But these people now is getting punishments of 17 years in jail. If you commit
17 years for
17 years.
protesting. And can I just say, it's pretty clear that your election was stolen by the Lula government. I think that's fair to say. From the outside, it looked stolen.
Yes, I have my opinion. This is a very sensitive issue.
No,
that
I know
have
it is.
I have to take care about my words, but what I can tell you is...
Why would you have to take care of your words?
You have a congressman that is in jail now because he made a video, Tucker. He made a video talking bad words for the Supreme Court. This man, a congressman, is in jail for 9 years. His name is Daniel Silveira.
Wait. He's in jail for criticizing the Supreme Court?
Yes. Not only criticized, he said bad words. That's true. I would never do a video like that, but imagine, I don't know.
Bad words. Did he threaten violence?
Some, how can I say that? Talking shit things to the ministers.
Yes.
Your mother is this and that, things
Well, you're allowed to talk shit to people in power in a free country, aren't you?
Yes. Where you have the First Amendment respected, yes. But in Brazil, we have some articles inside of the Constitution that guarantee for senators and congressmen like me that you not receive any kind of punishment about what you speak. It's say like we have freedom of speech in Brazil, at least in the Constitution, and the congressman is one step ahead because we cannot receive punishment about our words, votes, or whatever we say. But as this congressman is in jail now, and the things are getting worse.
Okay, I'm sorry, and I keep talking over your story. I'm just amazed that someone
I know that's
in
very
jail
impressive.
for criticizing the government. It's obviously not a free country just on the basis of that. But I said it was very obvious from our perspective, from the U.S. perspective, that your election was rigged with the help of the CIA. That was my conclusion.
There is a very good article in Financial Times talking about the help of U.S. to guarantee the democracy in Brazil.
And by guaranteeing democracy, that would be guaranteeing the election of the left-wing candidate.
Yes. And the thing is, there is so much power that the establishment did, for example, to avoid the printed vote amendment that we tried to approve in 2021. Why someone from the electoral court, they organize and they judge everything about the elections in Brazil. Why someone from the electoral court, the superior electoral court, as the president, Justice Barroso, came to the Congress and talked with 11 presidents of political parties, telling them to do not approve the printed vote amendment. Why someone works till we do not have more transparency in the election? It's strange. But as Tucker, in my position, I can tell you, I cannot accuse that the elections was frauded, but they cannot prove that it wasn't.
Man, just hearing what this guy's saying, again, I'm sure most of you figured out, if you can't understand what this guy's saying because he has such a thick accent, turn on your subtitles. But from the sounds of it, they had something that was similar to what happened at the Capitol. There are congressmen in jail. There is over saying yo mama jokes, apparently. The guy's saying your mother is this, your mother's that. So just saying things like that. They're supposed to be somewhat immune to that type of, I don't know what to say, injustice, getting locked up for that type of thing. I guess because when you're in that position as a congressman, you have to say certain things and you have to vote certain ways and you have to kind of stand up for the people. So, but they just said, screw that. You're just a regular person in our eyes. And they were locking people up, punishing people for speech, right? Avoiding the printed vote, apparently. Allegedly, like this gentleman said, he can't prove it, but they cannot prove that it wasn't. I'm going to show you another clip from this interview as well, and then we're going to move on to what the protests look like because of everything that's happening. Let's go.
Role in the election.
Yes. And one of the things why my father got ineligible in a record time right after Lula take office is because he had a meeting.
He was told he could never run again.
Yes, he is ineligible until 2026. We are trying to overturn it inside of the courts, but as you can imagine, it will be very hard to do that. I still have a hope. But anyway, he was turned ineligible because he had a meeting with ambassadors and talked with them about the electoral system in Brazil, how it works, and criticized some points. Normal thing. But before of this meeting of Bolsonaro and the ambassadors, the president of the Superior Electoral Court, he had the same meetings with these ambassadors.
Wait, so you're saying that your father, who's often been compared to Trump, has been declared ineligible to run again in the next election on the basis of complaints about the electoral system, yes, and that you had a protest against a rigged election that was backed by the U.S. government, and that as a result of that, Lula's political opponents wound up in jail. I mean, this sounds like exactly what's happening in the United States.
Yes. It's the
Have
same
you
thing.
noticed that?
Yes. I usually say that it's the same virus, but in Brazil it has unless antibodies. Actually, this is a phrase of the journalist Paulo Figueiredo. It's the same virus here, but imagine that in Brazil, the left wing, or at least the establishment, they fully control the Supreme Court. And who could do the check and balances and stop the Supreme Court to do that is the Senate. But the Senate, they don't take any kind of action against that. They have exactly the same speech of the Supreme Court justices. So in the end of the day, Brazilians are losing the hope to get back democracy, because if you use machines to vote and you don't have a way to at least recount the votes, you have to trust the system 100%.
It's very, very interesting, man. Something that he just said that stood out so much, it's the same virus. Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, many people who can speak without much punishment, unless we call, punishment by media type of thing. But the same virus, like Elon Musk called it a woke mind virus. Joe Rogan calls it the same thing. And he's saying it's the same virus with less antibodies. And I just want to point that out because in this equation, you are the antibodies. He's just saying that there's less people that are standing up because they actually don't have the right. You actually have the right. And, I just made another episode about American pride, but this is another thing where things are not perfect, but at least you can actually voice yourself and say, I don't think that this is right. and not have to worry about going to jail the next day. And I know there are certain situations that are popping up that are making people feel more fearful that that is going to be the case. But when we go back to the virus analogy, the more antibodies there are, the less the virus can spread. And it's just funny that he said that, because Charlie Kirk was doing an interview a couple months ago. It was just after October 7th. And he was saying, he's a very pro-Israel guy, and he was talking to a friend that he had in the IDF, and he said this friend's very high up. And he was telling Charlie the same thing that you have going on with the left, we have the exact same thing. This like woke left that seems like they've lost the values of the country and are doing things that are a bit against democracy, as it would seem, you know, all in the name of inclusivity. And, you know, just the whole, if you watch this channel a lot, the whole works of like Saul Alinsky, you know, co-opted, we'll call it. He was saying they have the same issue. Now this gentleman's in Brazil and he's saying they have the same issue, you know. Canada, 1,000,000% has the same issue. It makes you wonder. It really, really makes you wonder. Then he says that the left wing controls the Supreme Court. Now, I actually heard that this is something that's happening in Israel as well. And there were a bunch of people protesting Benjamin Netanyahu because he was trying to balance the scales. He said they had this woke Supreme Court, and he was trying to make it so they didn't have to depend so much on that Supreme Court, because they were all pretty much leftists and they couldn't get anything done because of them. And that's what was causing so much protest before October 7th. People were in the streets in masses. And then when he talks about the Senate, he didn't really know what to say, but I would say in our terms, bought and paid for. He's saying that they say the exact same thing that the courts say. Sounds like the Senate's bought and paid for. Allegedly, I don't know, but just by the way he was phrasing it, I would have to assume. Now, these are what the protests look like in Brazil. Just massive. Just massive. These are all people. Huge. People really came out to protest what they feel is wrong. It just goes all the way back there. It keeps going down that way, and it goes all the way to the other way as well. It's wild. No, it doesn't stop there. It goes right down that street. Massive, massive protest. Mainstream media around here, silent. See, and this is the problem. If I go to the top of this tweet, they say there was a huge anti-government protest in Brazil a few weeks ago. It's hardly got any coverage, but it went viral on X. This is why X is Lula's public enemy number one. And the reason that I'm showing this to you, this caption, is because Elon Musk gets heavily involved in this whole situation. Because when this first gentleman was talking about the silencing of journalists and people, well, how does that work, right? What are you going to do? How are you going to silence them? Well, everybody's operating on X. And the Brazilian government knows that. So they actually went to Elon Musk and they asked him to do this. Here, check this out.
Demands from this Judge Alexander. That's his name on Twitter, at Alexander. And there would be to suspend accounts immediately. We were given typically 2 hours to suspend an account or face massive fines. And the final straw is we were being given demands to suspend sitting members of the parliament and major journalists. And moreover, we could not tell them that this was at the behest of Alexander Morales. We had to pretend that it was due to our rules of service. And that was the final straw, and we said no. Demands from...
So this is what sparked Elon Musk being in all of this. If you have heard about this, most people started hearing about it when Elon Musk ended up in the middle of it. This goes way beyond Elon Musk, but he is one thing that is standing between freedom of speech and this government that, for, you know, I'm not there. I haven't seen these people in person, but it sounds like it's getting pretty authoritarian. It sounds like it's a quasi dictatorship of some sort. If it's not that, they are inching close to it when they're asking people, or they're asking X to silence journalists and tell them that it's because of the terms and services rather than they just want them silenced. Right away, as soon as I heard that, it made me wonder, where else does that happen? That was the first thing that came to mind. You know, where did they get that idea? Are they the first to ever do it? I doubt it. Where else does it go on? Now, this is the man. Brazil has their own Klaus Schwab. This is him. This is Alexander, we'll say. This is him. This is not the president. This is someone who is a justice on the Supreme Court. But this person has also allowed this Lula character, who's now running Brazil, allowed him out of jail. He had a 9-year sentence. He got out 2 years in, then became president. So now people are starting to say, and you're going to see as I go on in this whole thing, people are saying this man is on a leash. There's no proof of that, but it looks like it because you get released by him. You know, he decides that you should be released. Then you become president and you're kind of doing things at his request. It's convenient, we'll say, because all this is alleged. It's convenient that the things he wants done, this Klaus Schwab looking character, are all the things that the president ends up doing. So let's move on here. Sorry. So happening now, Brazil is currently hours away from becoming a police state. The Attorney General of Brazil, Jorge Messias, along with the Justice Alexander and President Lula, are calling for Elon Musk to shut down popular accounts, or they're shutting down X. Now, apparently X has a Brazilian office, which I did not know. They're talking about shutting that down. So not shutting down X completely, but X in Brazil and pretty much all of South America. Okay, so Elon Musk has refused to cave, stating freedom of speech is paramount. The judge has been in contact with internet providers so they can be ready to shut down X as soon as the decision is made. How is it in 2024 a society can so openly fall to fascism? What happened to the freedom? How are we letting this happen? These men should be put in jail at a minimum. Now, again, a lot of this is, you have to say alleged if you want to be safe, but it all looks very, and this is a picture of the President Lula and that gentleman again. This guy looks very, it's like cartoonish. You know, Joe Rogan so many times has talked about Klaus Schwab and been like, this guy's like a cartoon character. And it's like now another guy pops up that is arguably doing even more in such a seemingly vicious way. And that's what he looks like. It's wild. Let's talk a little bit more about this really quick. This is another part of it that developed. The situation is escalating. Elon Musk is, they're putting an investigation into Elon Musk on organized or criminal organizations. He has also banned X from reactivating accounts that were suspended by the Supreme Court, imposing a $20,000 fine USD per account, per profile for non-compliance. This is wild. So Elon Musk, they're trying to put this on him and say, you can't reinstate these accounts. And these accounts, if we had to really liken it to today's situation over here, these accounts are Benny Johnson, Charlie Kirk. I mean, even Dave Peckman, you know, super liberal. Like, these are just guys who are making articles, Matt Taibbi, Michael Shellenberger. These are just journalists. These aren't people who are radicals or anything like that. Let's keep going really quick, and then I'm going to get to another video for you guys. It's Michael Shellenberger talking about the situation. Just hold tight. Yesterday evening, the judge ordered an investigation into Elon Musk, alleging using X for criminal purposes related to ongoing investigations. Completely made up. There's nothing going on, obviously. What could or would Elon Musk be doing as the richest person in the world? Additionally, an inquiry has been initiated to probe Musk's involvement in the obstruction of justice and incitement to crime with potential legal consequences. I don't know what Brazil can actually do if by chance they find him guilty. I feel like there's nothing they can do. He's Elon Musk. He could just be like, I'm not going there. You know what I mean? Like, I feel, I don't know. Maybe they could. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they can impose a massive fine like Donald Trump got a massive fine put on him. Maybe they can do something like that. I don't really know. The rest of this just goes on to talk about what's going on with Brazil and how these people are very authoritarian and whatnot. Now let's move on to Michael Shellenberger. He's talking about what's going on in Brazil. He's been not fully on the ground because it's not safe for journalists there, but he's been following the situation very closely.
Hey everyone, it's Mike Shellenberger, and I'm reporting to you at this moment from Brazil, where a dramatic series of events are underway. At 5:52 p.m. Eastern Time today, April 6, 2024, X Corporation, formerly known as Twitter, announced that a Brazilian court had forced it to, quote, block certain popular accounts in Brazil. Then, less than 1 hour later, the owner of X, Elon Musk, announced that X would defy the court's order and lift all restrictions. As a result, said Musk, we will probably lose all revenue in Brazil and have to shut down our office there. But principles matter more than profit, he added. At any moment, Brazil's Supreme Court could shut off all access to X Twitter for the people of Brazil. It is not an exaggeration to say that Brazil is on the brink of dictatorship at the hands of a totalitarian Supreme Court justice named Alexandre de Moraes. President Lula da Silva is also participating in this push towards totalitarianism. Since taking office, Lula has massively increased government funding of the mainstream corporate news media, most of which are encouraging increased censorship. What Lula and de Moraes are doing is an outrageous violation of Brazil's constitution as well as the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. At this moment, Brazil is not yet a dictatorship. It still has elections, and the Brazilian people have other means at their disposal to confront authoritarianism. At the same time, the Federal Supreme Court and the Superior Electoral Court, which it controls, are directly interfering in those elections through censorship. 3 days ago, I arrived in Brazil and published the Twitter files for Brazil. They show that de Moraes has violated the Brazilian constitution in multiple ways. He illegally demanded that Twitter reveal private information about Twitter users who used hashtags that he considered inappropriate. He demanded access to Twitter's internal data, violating the platform's policy. He censored on his own initiative, without any respect for due process, posts on Twitter by parliamentarians from the Brazilian Congress. And Moraes tried to turn Twitter's content moderation policies into a weapon against supporters of then-President Jair Bolsonaro. I say all of this as an independent and nonpartisan journalist. I'm not a fan of either Bolsonaro or Trump. My own political views are very moderate, but I know censorship when I see it. The Twitter files revealed also that Google, Facebook, Uber, WhatsApp, and Instagram betrayed the people of Brazil. If this evidence is proven and admitted to, the executives of those companies behaved like cowards. They provided the Brazilian government with personal registration data and telephone numbers without a court order. Therefore, they violated the Brazilian laws. When Twitter refused, to their credit, to provide Brazilian authorities with private user information, including direct messages, the government of Brazil attempted to sue and hold Brazil's top Twitter attorney in criminal contempt. When I was in Brazil in 1992, at the time, the slogan of the Workers' Party was "without fear of being happy." In recent days, I've spoken to dozens of Brazilians, including professors, journalists, and respected lawyers. All of them told me that they are shocked by what is happening here. They told me that they themselves are afraid to speak their mind, and that the Lula government, the Workers' Party government, is complicit in creating this climate of fear. Look, Brazil belongs to the Brazilians. It's not my country, such there's limits to what I'm capable of doing. But what I can say is that there are many Brazilians who do not feel safe saying what must be said. Alexandre de Moraes is a tyrant, and the only way to deal with tyrants is to confront them. It's up to Brazil's senators now to confront this tyrant, and it's up to the people of Brazil to demand that their senators do so. In 1992, my best Brazilian friend gave me a t-shirt that I loved. On it was a cartoon of Brazil's military dictators who had painted the sky black. Beside them were children who were smiling and throwing stars up into the dark sky. It said, "They painted the sky black, but we brought back the stars." Alexandre de Moraes and Lula are painting the sky black. The time has come for the Brazilian people to let the light
shine. I assume that's what he was going to say. Got it cut a little short. Very interesting, man. And I can't believe he's in Brazil. Michael Shellenberger. Wow. I don't know if I would go to Brazil at a time like this. just because of what they could possibly do. You know, like they're trying to ban people from X, and they can do so because it's their own political opponents, it's their own journalists, people that are their citizens. What could they possibly do to a journalist that is not from there, but is exposing the stuff exactly the same way? Now, the reason that people are talking about this gentleman having the president on a leash, the Supreme Court Justice Alexander de Moraes, I believe he said, decided to shut down X in Brazil. The court also released Lula from prison 2 years into a 9-year sentence for corruption and banned that person who is likened to Trump from running until 2030. Lula won the 2022 election with 59.9% of the votes, and his opponent had 49.1%, apparently. Now, who knows? Again, the person that was talking to Tucker wanted, well, the opponent's his son, he wanted to actually, you know, have an inquiry of sorts, and that was just not allowed. Now the situation has thickened in Brazil. It is now going after the ex-employees. Breaking: ex-employees in Brazil have been told they'll be arrested. Once they're secure, Elon Musk will do a full data dump on the judge and the president of Brazil. Very, very interesting that they're being told that they'll be arrested. Anyone who still believes blah, 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 blah is a quasi-dictatorship, is living in a fantasy. Then this person who is actually, he's like I believe he's a congressman, but he is a part of the government. He says Elon said that Alexander has Lula on a leash, and that he put his finger on the scale to elect him as a member of the Brazilian Congress. Yes, there you go. And representing millions of people. I ask you to give us more information on this will be crucial for the future of our country. Elon Musk responded to him, said, we need to get our employees in Brazil to a safe place or otherwise not in a position of responsibility. Wow. Then we will do a data dump. And then it goes down more. They have been told they will be arrested. So Elon Musk does not want to show anything until his employees are safe. Very, very commendable, but also just terrifying that now the employees of X, who are just doing their jobs, you know, a lot of the times we throw that around, that phrasing of just doing your job. They're literally just in X, just doing the things that employees do. And Elon Musk is making the final decisions. It's not them making the decisions. And then they're under threat of being arrested. I think this is happening because they know they can't directly do anything to Elon Musk. They can shut down the office of where his building, they can shut down the office where X operates. They can arrest the employees, but they can do inquiries into Musk, but they won't find anything, obviously. But they can't do anything to him. They can't take down his accounts. They can't do anything to him on social media. They can't do anything to him via law. So I don't know what safe place he's going to get them into, but hopefully he's Elon Musk and he just sends, like, you know, a helicopter, a Tesla helicopter or a rocket or something. The law applies. Elon Musk posted this as well. He's deep in this situation. He's like, you can tell he's really deep in this situation. This is just the last video I got. It's Michael Shellenberger talking with a member of Congress here.
My name is Marcel Van Hatten. I'm a member of the Brazilian Parliament, of the Chamber of Deputies, and I want to thank Elon Musk and also Michael Shellenberger for all you are doing for our country, for Brazil. And we as Brazilians, of course, feel motivated to combat censorship and win this battle. Thank you so much, Shellenberger.
It's my pleasure. I really hope that Brazilians fight for their freedom of speech, freedom of expression. It's definitely under attack in Brazil, worse than any other country I've seen.
Thank you, Shellenberger. Thank you, David HP, and also Oliveira Jr., and thank you, Elon Musk. My name is Marcel.
Wow, man. So that's everything that's going on in X. Again, this is the man himself. Just wild fashion going on here. Literally dressed like a supervillain. So crazy. Man, I wanted to go to Brazil. I've always wanted to go there. I don't know about you. I've always wanted to go to Brazil, South America in general. And it's just like, me and my friends often have the conversation of like, where is it safe? You know, if things go sideways, you know, in America, where is safety? And it's like, what is it going to be, Africa? Like, what's going on here? The world, man, it's going upside down. But again, pray for the people of Brazil. And honestly, another reason why I made this video is we're steps behind. We're steps behind that kind of thing. That's why it's so important, you know, to speak up non-violently, always peacefully. But we're so close to that type of thing. And so many times, over and over again, whether it's Canada or you just keep looking at everything that goes on and you keep saying, wow, that place is messed up. Steps behind. If everybody stays silent. Going back to what that gentleman said at the very beginning. Same virus, but there's more antibodies. Can't forget that. So definitely look into this situation, stay updated on it. It's really not being shown in the mainstream media that much. It's usually on X. I don't even know how many videos will come out on this platform about it, but I know I'm going to keep making updates as I see things go on, and I hope that was informative for you guys. Other than that, I'm out.